We're electromagnetic beings. When I was in school, I was taught that we're a bag of chemicals consisting mostly of water.
Many phones and bring to this laboratory where they test. And they test it like this against. And
so I'll start with your cell phone. That's the sound it makes, right?
Have heard something about this?
Yes, the protection around your nerves is called a myelin sheath, and it's like the insulation around an electrical wire. It has the same function.
0.0000006.
Right. And they have these huge antennas, trying to capture it.
Tere! Täna räägime sellise hästi huvitava ja toreda professoriga nagu Magda Havas. Ta on tegelenud elektromagnetiliste kiirguste uurimisega, kuidas need mõjutavad meie keha, meie lapsi. Aga lasen tal kohe alguses ise ennast siis natuke tutvustada ja räägib lähemalt. Hello, Magda.
Hello, Harry. A pleasure to be here.
Pleasure. So, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get involved with such topic as electromagnetic fields and biological effects on human body?
I'm a retired professor. My background is in environmental toxicology. And a lot of my early research was looking at chemical pollution, air quality, water quality, and the effects on human health and the environment. And most of the research I was doing was on acid rain. And this was back in the 1970s and early 80s. In 1990s, we had clean air legislation between Canada and the United States. And my interest in continuing research on air pollution simply disappeared because I realized we couldn't get additional legislation with more research. And one of the things I wanted my research to do was to improve the quality of the environment for every living organism. So I started to look around to see what else could I do research on. And I was reading a paper that showed that children who lived near power lines had a greater risk of developing leukemia. And this interested me. And one of the courses I teach was called pollution ecology. And in pollution ecology, we talk about all sorts of different toxins in the environment. And so I began to read the literature, and eventually I incorporated the information into one of my courses. And the more I read, the more intrigued I became. And I started working with extremely low frequency electromagnetic fields. I then shifted to dirty electricity and ground current. And then eventually I moved to radio frequency and microwave radiation. So that's how I got involved, coming from a background of looking at pollutants and their effects on human health and the environment.
I know that you have contacted with Dr. Sori Glaser. Can you please tell us who he was and what kind of information you got from him?
Well, Dr. Sori Glaser, who is now retired, used to work for the U.S. military, and he was one of their microwave experts. And quite a few years ago now, I think it was in the early 2000s, someone sent me a document that he had written, published in 1972. And this is a classic document that everyone should have a copy of. In that document, he cited over 2,000 scientific references dealing with the harmful effects of microwave radiation. And someone sent this document to me I was so impressed that I wanted to thank Dr. Glaser for writing it and doing that research such a long time ago. And so I looked him up, found a phone number, called it, and left a message and said, you know, if this is the Zori Glaser who worked for the U.S. military, could you please call me back? And I left my phone number. A few hours later, I received a phone call, and he was very conservative and didn't know why I was calling, was very confused. He had been retired for a number of years. And I thanked him for that publication. He said, well, I've got several others like that. And we've got over 6,000 references now, dating back to the 60s, 70s, and even earlier. And when I asked him what he was doing with those publications, he said that he's got them in storage and that he was planning on throwing them out. He offered them to libraries, but university libraries, but so far he wasn't successful. And so I asked him if he would give me those publications, those documents. And he asked me what I would do with them. And I said we would have them scanned as searchable PDF documents, and then we would put them on the internet for the world to look at. He agreed, and I went down there, collected the documents, brought them back to Canada, and did exactly what I said we would. We scanned them, and now they're all available on the Zori Glaser website, which is www.zoriglaser.com.
Explain a little bit about microwaves, and was something very interesting for you on those documents about, or everything is interesting?
There's a lot of interesting information that you can't get anywhere else in those documents. There's internal memos that were sent between different departments and different industries. The military was involved. A number of telecom industries were involved, like Bell, for example. And back then, the primary use of microwaves was in radar and in certain occupations where they use microwaves to dry wood, for example, to make rubber tires, to melt plastic. So it was the only people who were exposed were those who were occupationally involved with microwave radiation. Today, we're all exposed to microwave radiation. A cell phone, for example, is a microwave, transmitter and receiver. Wi-Fi, smart meters on your home. So a lot of the wireless technology we're using today is based on microwaves. That's Bluetooth as well. And so I wanted to get people to realize how important, this radiation was and what it was doing. And back then, the way they established the standards was fascinating because they wanted to protect the military. They wanted to make sure the military could still use the microwave weapons that they have and the microwave technology they have without exceeding standards. So they set the standards very high. And those standards that we currently have, recommended internationally by ICNIRP and by the American, Canadian, British governments, for microwave radiation at 2.5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz is 10 million microwatts per meter squared, which is the power density. And that level is to protect you from your body heating up. Because some of the military personnel during the winter, if they stood near the radar, they would get warm. And so a lot of them did stand near the radar in winter when it was cold. And I was told that if you had a chocolate bar in your pocket, it would probably melt. So their levels of exposure are really quite high. But we now know that levels that are less than 1% of the safety code guidelines are actually harmful. And we've done experiments with that.
Yes, I have heard that the history with the microwave is that the scientist, the chocolate bar was on the pocket and they did something and it was melting. So somehow, but maybe it's not so.
Maybe, but it's a good story.
I have spoken with Professor Olle Johansson, and Professor Johansson was telling me that some while ago, ICNIRP, I'm not sure, was it head or some important figure, Paolo Vecchi, was telling him that these ICNIRP guidelines are actually not for you and you are using them wrong way. But this talk was only with 4 eyes. So we should have much lower everywhere.
I agree. Some of the best guidelines are established by the building biologists, the biobiologists from Germany. They have some of the, I think, some of the more realistic and safest guidelines available today.
I spoke with this Professor Olle, and he said that the only safe is no radiation at all. We cannot even say 0.1, because in nature we don't have this alternating. This is something else.
That's right. We have a little bit of microwave radiation coming from outer space, but it's like a whisper. It's very
yes,
soft.
It's 0.0000006.
Right. And they have these huge antennas, trying to capture it, so that they're, because it's so weak, they have to have really big capturing antennas for it.
A long time ago, when I was measuring a microwave oven, I broke the meter because the radiation was so strong.
I've also measured a number of microwave ovens, including mine, and almost every oven I've tested leaks microwave radiation. And one of the ways that people can test that, if they don't have a meter, is to take their cell phone, put it in the microwave oven and close the door, but don't turn the microwave oven on because that will destroy your phone. And instead phone it from another phone. And if the phone in the microwave oven rings, it means the radiation penetrated through the body of the microwave. And if it can go in, it can also come out. So you can actually test whether or not your microwave oven works. And I've measured it. We've got a short video clip that I can probably share with you, and you can show it as how high the levels are right near the meter, right near the oven door. They went higher than our meter could measure. Our meter can measure 2.5 million microwatts per meter squared, and it was higher than that, but I don't know how high it went.
I saw a video what you have posted about 12 years ago, and it's called rapid aging syndrome. Can you please a little bit explain what do you mean about aging? It's not about the skin?
No, it's not about...
It's something
that's
inside.
Right. When you're exposed to microwave radiation, it causes free radical production in the body. And this has the same effect of rusting. So, when a nail rusts, it's deteriorating. The free radicals are harming your cells, and your body has to replace the dying cells much more quickly. And because of that, you have a number of symptoms, one of which is fatigue. People have difficulty sleeping, they have aches and pains. And one of the things I realized is that what microwave radiation is doing, it's causing your body to age faster. And that's why I called it rapid aging syndrome. It goes by other names as well. The most common is electrohypersensitivity. So there are some people who are extremely sensitive to this radiation, and that's why they're called hypersensitive. The World Health Organization came up with a very long name for it. And currently, the scientific community would like to call it electromagnetic radiation syndrome, although it's gone by a number of different names. And what it's referring to is the negative effects that microwave radiation has on your body, causing it to age faster, to have all the symptoms of aging. And indeed, some people tell me that they don't think they're electro-hypersensitive. They think they're just getting older. But when they go into an electromagnetically clean environment, their symptoms disappear, and that doesn't happen with real aging. So it's an artificial aging of the body, primarily to your cells rather than, to your facial features and your gray hair.
Can you a little bit explain about some scientific work or evidence what it will do with cells?
Basically, microwaves affect every system in your body. We know that they cause problems to the blood-brain barrier. We have a barrier between our body and our brain that protects the brain. But when you're exposed to microwaves, it weakens that protection, the boundary, and things can come into your brain that would normally be considered harmful. And so that's not very good. And if these things get into your brain, their consequences could be things like Alzheimer's or dementia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, possibly autism. So your cognitive ability becomes impaired with this radiation. It affects the nerves in your body, not only that affect your brain, but also your heart. Those are the two major organs in your body that have a lot of nerve cells in them. And we've done studies where we expose people to the radiation from a cordless phone, for example, and we measure their heartbeat. And we find that for some people it becomes irregular, and for other people it becomes very, very fast. And it puts them into a stress response. And that's what some of the free radicals are doing. They're actually stressing your body. And when you stress your body continuously, you end up having secondary effects from that stress, and you can become very, very ill. The biological effects of microwaves fall into three categories in my mind. One are cancers. The second is reproductive problems. And the third is this electro-hypersensitivity or rapid aging syndrome. And a number of people are sensitive. We think probably at least 3% of the population has severe symptoms. So we're talking about a very large number of people that are being adversely affected by the devices they have in or near their homes.
Can you say something how it can affect heart and brain waves? Is there some kind of association or with microwaves?
Well, we're electromagnetic beings. When I was in school, I was taught that we're a bag of chemicals consisting mostly of water. And I think a lot of medical people look at the chemistry of the human body and the biochemistry of the human body, but they don't look at the physics of the human body. And when we're talking about nerves, they have charges that run along the neuron to the next nerve. And that's just like an electrical wire with electrons flowing down the path. So we're electromagnetic beings, and there's something called electromagnetic interference that engineers and physicists know about, where one technology interferes with the other technology. And some people might have this happen in their homes. When they turn on their microwave oven, they can't use their Wi-Fi because the frequencies are overlapping and there's interference. And so basically what's happening is these electromagnetic fields affect the body by preventing the cells from communicating with each other electromagnetically. So they interfere with your nervous system, they interfere with your hormonal system. And those are the things that lead to ultimate health problems.
Yes, if we speak about the nervous system, I have studied myself, and actually there are a lot of wires. The nervous system is like wiring, and like usual wires, we have isolation. that the wires, if they go together, we have a fault. And actually, there are studies what say that, I don't remember what is around our nerve cells. There is a protection as well, and there's radiation can damage this nerve isolation. Do you have heard something about
Yes,
this?
the protection around your nerves is called a myelin sheath, and it's like the insulation around an electrical wire. It has the same function as well. And people who have multiple sclerosis have problems. There's gaps in the myelin sheath. It's been rusted away, and because of that, their nerves don't function as they normally would. So your mind tells your foot to take a step, but there's a delay because it's taking longer now with the damaged nerves in your brain. And the part of your body that's affected is related to the different areas in your brain. So some people have difficulty walking, for example. Some people have tremors. And so people with multiple sclerosis have very similar symptoms to people who are electrically hypersensitive. And we have evidence. I've worked with people with MS. We cleaned up the dirty electricity in their homes. And for a subset of those individuals, their symptoms just went away. Their MS symptoms went away. They could think more clearly. They could walk better. Their balance was better. And it happened within a matter of 6 weeks. Not everyone benefited when we cleaned up the dirty electricity. But I think dirty electricity is making some neurological problems worse. Not only MS, but things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. So these neurological problems are being detected in younger and younger people. And I think the reason for that is that we have so much microwave radiation in our environment, from when you're in kindergarten now, all the way up through, university and beyond.
I am actually certified electrician, and I have worked in oil rigs nearly 15 years. In oil rigs we have everything is EMC system. That means we have shielded cables and a lot of things. So now I'm home, and what I do electrical works. I measure, and on my experience I can say that this ELF, lower frequency, is actually it's bigger problem in homes, because you can regulate your mobile phone, you put it away or something, but with wires you are actually 24/7 exposed with ELF.
I agree with you. We have ELF in our homes, from the wiring in the wall, from the devices that we have. If you turn on your stove, for example, if it's an electric stove, you get a really high magnetic field associated with it. When I look at the different types of electromagnetic pollution, in my mind, they fall into 4 categories. One is extremely low frequency electric and magnetic fields. Another is dirty electricity, which is intermediate frequencies. And then you have microwave radiation. But there's another type, and that's ground current. This is electricity actually flowing along the ground. That's causing all sorts of problems, not only with human health, but with the health of livestock. So there are different ways that we're exposed to this form of electromagnetic pollution that I call electrosmog.
Let's talk about a little bit this new technology with wind turbines and solar systems. They produce quite a lot dirty electricity, and actually that's not good.
I agree with you. I'm an environmental toxicologist, and I'm I hug trees, so I love nature and I'd love to protect it. And I think it's important that we reduce our emissions of carbon producing compounds. But I don't think the right answer are wind turbines or solar power unless they're made safer. And what I mean by that is that in areas where there's wind turbines, for example, and Dave Calling and I have published a paper on this, where we measured the electricity flowing through the ground when wind turbines were operating and when they weren't operating. And there's a huge difference. When they're operating, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of dirty electricity. And that comes from, I think, the inverter, if I understand correctly. I'm a biologist, not an engineer or electrician. And so it's producing this ground current, and that ground current is flowing through the ground, coming into people's homes and making them sick. And the same is true for solar power. If you convert solar power DC to AC, you produce a lot of dirty electricity. And if they made a really pure filter to get rid of that dirty electricity, then it might work. But the way they're doing it right now, it's unsafe for people who live near these installations.
Yes, in Estonia at the moment there is big plans to put wind turbines everywhere. I visit one guy who lives near with very big wind turbines, and he was telling that health is going very bad. But in Estonia they speak about a lot this infrasound, what wind turbine makes, which is right. But what I think is, if you have in your home ELF, radiation from the wires, then you get wind turbine dirty electricity and you get this infrasound. We don't have studies what combine, and microwave. So I haven't seen any studies what takes together different stuff.
I agree with you. I think, people have a toolkit, and that's all they measure. So they don't measure things that they're not interested in. In addition to the infrasound and, the ground current and the dirty electricity, they also have flicker. So if you have sunshine, you have your wind turbine, and then you have a home. As the turbine is turning, it causes light to flicker. So depending on your position between the sun and the wind turbine in your home, that can cause another issue. And, people who are epileptics, for example, it'll bring on a seizure because of the flickering light. So none of this is healthy. And we have to find ways to make it a lot more beneficial to the environment than it is currently, I think.
About these DE filters, actually, they produce, if you have wiring errors, you can raise your magnetic field.
That's right. So the first thing you need to do is get a good qualified electrician to come in and make sure you don't have any wiring problems. But when you have wiring problems, you plug a lamp in and the same thing. It produces a very high magnetic field.
I have heard that you speak about these glucose monitors. Why they are dangerous? Are they dangerous or?
I've not measured one that you put on your body that is working constantly. I've not measured them, but one of the things we found was that some people who are diabetics, either type 1 or type 2 diabetics, some of those people are sensitive to the electromagnetic energy around them. And what that does is it causes their blood sugar to go up. So we've done studies with, young people, older people who are on insulin, people who aren't on insulin. And we find that when they move from a clean environment into an electromagnetically dirty environment, their blood sugar spikes, and it can go up very, very quickly. And if they come from a dirty environment, electromagnetically dirty environment, to a clean environment, their blood sugar drops. So they have to really be able to control their insulin very carefully. and they have to measure their blood sugar on a regular basis. Because if they fall into that category, their blood sugar can go too high, or it can go really, really low where they pass out. So there is a relationship between sensitivity with diabetics and what happens to their blood sugar.
In homes, actually, there is quite a lot what we can do to reduce the ELF and microwaves. On my experience, there is a lot of things selling in internet that actually do not work. Have you researched or do you know something about stickers to mobile phone, pendulums, all sorts of things? If you Google, you get many items. On my experience, and I know actually they do not work at all.
Well, people have asked me to test some of the, things that you can get, the stickers on your phone or something for the room, that sort of thing. We've tested just a little bit. We've done a little bit of testing. And if you measure the effect these devices have on the radiation coming from the phone or from your Wi-Fi, there's no effect. It doesn't interfere with the radiation at all. And I realized we weren't testing the right thing. What we need to do is test the human body, because we're trying to see if it benefits or harms the human body. And so we've done things like heart rate variability testing and different types of tests to find out if you put one of these, necklaces on, is it going to protect you? And we're finding there's very little effect. Sometimes there is a slight effect, but some people benefit from them and some people, it makes them worse. So we can't make a statement, use this product and it will protect you. We can't make that statement currently, I don't think. They're also saying that it's using scalar energy, a different type of energy that you don't measure the same way that you would measure with the normal meters that we use for microwaves and extremely low frequency electromagnetic fields.
Yes, there is a lot of, I see all the time in Facebook that they're selling grounded sheets, grounding mats. As an electrician, if you understand how electrical system works, you cannot use them at all. That's very wrong. Do you know something about that?
I agree with you. I think people, especially if they ground it to the ground in the electrical wire, it can actually make them quite sick. And what I've heard from a lot of people who have tried the grounding mats for their bed, they tell me initially they feel really good, and then over time they begin to crash. So doing it constantly doesn't make any sense. I think it's important for you to be grounded. Walking outside in bare feet is good if you don't have a ground current problem in the area. So you have to know what your environment is like before you know if it's healthy or harmful.
I do public places measuring as well. I do the high frequency with this meter. It's 1 kilohertz up to 6 gigahertz. And I also check the ground in kids' playground and so on places. And actually in the cities we have this ground current quite a lot.
That's interesting, because I was told that in Europe there's less of a ground current problem than we have here in North America because of the way the electrical system works. So that's interesting that you're picking up quite a bit of ground current. How are you measuring it? With an oscilloscope or?
This small is a spectrum analyzer. This is professional spectrum analyzer. It goes up to 400 kilohertz from zero. So it will take the magnetic field and electric field. So this device you can use even in laboratory.
So you don't put two stakes in the ground? and measure?
Yeah, that's one way you can, but then the multimeter has to be also calibrated
Right.
if you want to know exactly what's going on.
So with that device, you only hold it close to the ground, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. I'd like to know more about it.
Can you tell us a little bit about people who live near the high voltage power lines? Have you done some research, or you know some research that's actually not good to live under the power line?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that what got me interested in looking at electromagnetic pollution was that children who live near power lines had a greater risk of developing leukemia. And it turns out that if the magnetic field is higher than 3 milligauss, which is 0.3 microtesla, that their risk of cancer increases. And so we did a study where we went to different communities and simply measured the magnetic field where people normally walk. You know, the downtown in a city, the downtown core, everyone's walking around enjoying themselves. And we measured the levels of radiation in 60 communities here in Ontario. And we found that some of them had very high magnetic fields, some of them had high electric fields. The magnetic fields change over the 24-hour period because of how much electricity you're using. The electric fields stay constant because they're based on the voltage on the wire. And near high voltage power lines, you get the highest levels, obviously, because there's just so much flowing through them. We haven't done any health studies, but there has been a lot published, particularly with children. With adults, we're finding that the magnetic field has to be at least 1 microtesla that's associated with different types of cancers, like breast cancer, leukemia, and brain tumors.
Yes, when I moved to my house where I live now in Forest, I came here and I had stray voltage. Yes, I had all over the ground stray voltage. So it was 400 nanoteslas. It's quite a lot. So I found the problem and I solved the problem. Can you explain a little bit how was the discovering of this stray voltage in farms?
Before I do that, what was the source of your stray voltage?
The source was, I don't know in English, I don't know, borehole.
Okay.
Borehole.
And how did you fix it?
The problem was earthing. I had to remake earthing system. Okay.
Now you asked, how did we find out about ground current problems?
Yes, I know it was dancing cows.
That's right. When electricity was first introduced to the public, it first went to cities because you had higher populations. In the farming community, people who lived in the country didn't get electricity for several decades afterwards. And when they were rolling out the wires to farms here in North America, they wanted to do it as cheaply as possible. And wire is expensive, metal is expensive. And so that what they decided to do was they would take a hot wire, take it out to the farm, and normally you would have a neutral return wire. And they thought, we don't need the neutral return, we'll just let the ground bring it back to the source. And when they did that on farms, the cows started getting ill. They wouldn't produce as much milk. They kept lifting their feet because the electricity was actually shocking them. And this was obviously not something that they were happy with. And eventually they had to put another wire in, a third wire, which was the neutral. What's happening today is that we have so much more electronic devices that we use for that require electricity. And these electronic devices emit intermediate frequencies. They have very high frequencies, high voltage transients. High frequency voltage transients are what they're called scientifically. And it's difficult to filter them out, to balance them. Not only do we have a 50 or 60 hertz flowing through the ground, but we have intermediate frequencies or dirty electricity flowing through the ground as well. And what happens if you're in contact with the ground, the electricity will go up 1 foot and then come out the other. The wider your feet are apart, the greater the electrical potential difference and the more electricity that will flow through your body. And this happens through cows as well. They have their front feet, they have their back feet, and they have electricity flowing all along their body, causing them to have shocks. And because of that, they lift their hooves. And once they start doing that, they look like they're dancing. And so we actually call them dancing cows.
Yes, in my work, actually I often see this in houses. It's making a magnetic field. In one house on the second floor where was bed, it was 3000 nanoteslas. So there was again a problem with grounding and everything. So I could reduce this to 20 nanotesla.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's this is what I think. I think that ELF fields are much stronger than microwaves because we are in near field. Microwaves, we are not mobile phone, but we are always in a far field.
Far field. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and near field is always the danger zone.
Well, we know that with magnetic fields, they've been classified as a Class 2B carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, just like microwaves. So the entire electromagnetic spectrum can cause cancer, basically. And that includes the ground current, whether it's coming through your, through the ground or coming from the wires in your home, has the same type of effect.
I will show for the people who don't know that you never ever use mobile phone when it's charging. This is just a usual phone. This is just, it's not a meter, it's very simple, it's like a radio. It picks up ELF. So we have nothing. When I put to charge, all this ELF, it's coming here, and if you hold it, it will, your body voltage AC will go very, very high. A lot of people don't know that, so.
That's good to know that you shouldn't be holding it when it's charging. Yeah.
So mobile phone is making also low ELF, low frequency magnetic fields because of the electronics what's working inside. And it's like this. And if you take, you don't have personal digital assistant.
Okay.
So as some people do not know that inside here there is a guideline that do not use against the body.
That's right. What's really interesting is when they're testing cell phones, and you know this, the closer you are to the transmitter, the higher the levels of radiation. and it drops sort of exponentially, 1 over r squared. When they're testing cell phones, they're supposed to test them right next to the mannequin. So it should be touching. And what some places are doing, they're putting a little gap in between. So when they measure it to see if it's in compliance, it's not touching, it's a little ways away, which means the levels are much lower, which means that it's unrealistic for people, who hold the cell phone right to their head because it's touching, who put a cell phone in a pocket, for example, in their pant pocket or jacket pocket. And some women put their cell phone in their bra. And one of the things that has been reported with women is that if they keep their cell phone in the same location for 10 years as a normal way of holding their phone, they can develop breast cancer immediately under where that phone was. So even, if it's on, but you're not using it, it's still emitting a certain amount of radiation every few minutes. So it's not healthy.
Yes, I saw a video on CBN years ago. There was one woman who took many phones and bring to this laboratory where they test. And they test it like this against, and not one mobile phone pass.
Wow.
This video is somewhere in the internet. There was
Interesting.
10 or 12 mobile phones, not one passed, as we use them against our body.
Right.
So it's...
Well, they say in the fine print that it should be a certain distance away from your body. They usually say 1.5 to 2.5 centimeters. But the fine print, it's really hard to read. It's very small. And most people don't know about that. And so they're using it improperly. I think that's to the benefit of the cell phone industry, because when you take them to court, so people who have developed a brain tumor think it's related to their cell phone, they sometimes take the provider to court. And all they have to say is, did you ever hold your cell phone next to your head? And when they say, yes, that's how I use it, they say, well, you didn't read the fine print. So we're not liable if you're not using the phone the way we recommend you use it. Very, very misleading information being provided.
Have you heard some research with ELF and DNA damage?
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the things that the International Agency for Research, classified as a Class 2B carcinogen because it does cause DNA damage. And what's really interesting, the magnetic field doesn't have to be very high. It can be quite low and still contribute to that. The guidelines that I'm aware of for magnetic fields is 100 microtesla in a lot of places. That's how much, the guidelines are. So you shouldn't be above 100 microtesla, but above 0.3 microtesla causes cancer in children, or, is associated with cancer. So, the 0.3 to the 100, it just doesn't make any sense. The guidelines for low frequency magnetic fields are just as bad as the guidelines for microwave radiation. Neither protects the public against harm.
Yes, I have seen WHO document. There was 0.2 microtesla. It's 200 nanoteslas. A lot of people don't know that if you have LED stripes, you have this electronic device what will make from AC to DC, but actually this electronic device is causing a very high frequency, and all the LED strip will be strong ELF all over. So I have measured quite a lot, and it depends how long is the strip. It can radio till 3 meters from the strip. But the good news is there is a possibility to remove radiation from the strip.
How do you do that? Yeah, how do you do that?
It's technical. I have to show that someday.
Okay. Well, that's good. We did testing with lighting as well, because now we can't use those original incandescent light bulbs. They were banned in North America, and people were told to use fluorescent, the fluorescent light bulbs, the squiggly ones. And some people have a really bad reaction to those light bulbs. So we started measuring them to see what they're emitting. And they flicker. They emit a certain amount of ultraviolet radiation as well. And they produce a lot of dirty electricity. So we're beginning to pick that up. With the LED light bulbs that you're talking about, the LED bulbs, we found the same thing. And they vary enormously from one manufacturer to the other. They also vary in the quality of the light they produce. The amount of blue versus red is important from a health perspective, because we're finding out that if you expose yourself to blue light in the evening, whether it's coming from a light bulb or from your computer screen, it will interfere with your ability to sleep. It affects the hormones in your body, and it will interfere with sleep. So there's a lot of things about light bulbs that need to be improved in order to make them healthier.
Yes, with the light, it's the human race is the smartest race who invented artificial light, and the stupidest who lives under the light. So I made a small video with this low frequency noise when we have usual cables, and when we have shielded cables and the electrical system is properly connected. It's just illustration to understand what kind of low frequency radiation inside we are living in home.
Right. And what we have is a meter that converts the radiation into sound. Just like you have certain meters that do that. And so what we've done is we've measured we've recorded the sound that different devices emit. So once you get used to the sound, you know exactly what device is emitting it. And I'll just go through a number of them. There's 2, 4, 6 different devices. So I'll start with your cell phone. That's the sound it makes, right? This is a cordless phone. This is a Wi-Fi monitor. This is Bluetooth. This is a baby deck phone. And this is the mother's monitor of the baby monitor. So we put all these sounds onto the PDF, and people can see what, if you have one of those meters, you can then tell what the sources are. And in most homes, this would be going on all the time, like several of those would be going on all the time. And if you could hear it, it would drive you crazy. But because we can't hear it, we just assume it's safe.
It's like we cannot see the radiation, we cannot taste, smell, but there are people who say that they can. So it's like invisible, I don't know, something.
An invisible poison.
Invisible poison, yeah. Let's talk about a little bit. There are clothing, shielded clothing that you can put, but a lot of people don't know you cannot put to the skin. if you buy something, you have to put between something, but a lot of people do not know that.
That's right. They're making material that consists of a very thin wire. Often they use silver, coated with a cotton overwrap. And this is very effective at reducing exposure to microwave radiation. And so some people use this as clothing. So you can put it on the inside of your hat, for example, or on the inside of your jacket. But if you put it next to your skin, you're not actually protecting yourself. Just like you can't put your cell phone next to your face, you shouldn't put this fabric next to your skin. Other people use it to make curtains in their home to prevent the radiation coming through from a nearby cell phone antenna, for example, or from their neighbor's Wi-Fi. And some people use it to put a canopy around their bed so that when they're sleeping at night, they're not exposed to the radiation if they can't control it. So my advice is to make sure that your Wi-Fi and everything is turned off at night if you happen to use Wi-Fi. But when you can't get rid of it, when it's coming from a cell tower, then putting a canopy around your bed, top, bottom, and all sides is really critical to minimize your exposure. And the other thing that I highly recommend is if you're going to be doing something like that, you make sure you have a meter with you, because if you have a little hole in that canopy, the radiation can actually come in and increase. It'll just bounce all around. So you really have to measure it when you're using this type of shielding material.
Yes, in my experience, I always say if you start shielding your home or do something, you always have to measure, because you can make worse. There are some people who put inside the walls aluminum. When I go to measure, you have ELF, electric field, it's so high. So you have to, it's proportional, have to be. Always have to measure step by step.
And the problem is that something might change. You know, your next door neighbor might have something that they didn't have before, and that can change the entire configuration of what's going on in your home as well, if you happen to live nearby, very close.
Yes, yes. I have a question about, do you know some research or something about children and mobile phone, microwave radiation, and anxiety or behavioral?
One of the, there's been a lot of research now done on women who are pregnant who use their cell phone, and then the effect it has on the infant once it's born. There seems to be an increase in some neurological development problems with children who have been exposed in utero, in their mother's belly, to microwave radiation. There's also studies showing that if you use a cell phone, if you started using a cell phone before the age of 20, you have a much greater risk of developing a brain tumor than if you started using it later on in life. You know, I'm in my 70s, and I didn't have a cell phone until fairly recently, and I don't use it very much. So I wasn't exposed as a child to this radiation. But today, children can't get away from it, whether it's, you know, the Wi-Fi in the classroom or the Wi-Fi in their home or their cell phone or whatever else they're exposed to, the low-frequency electromagnetic fields. They simply can't get away from it. And so what we're finding is a lot of the illnesses that we attribute to aging are actually happening in younger and younger people. And that's one of the reasons I, called it the rapid aging syndrome. So we know that if a mother uses it when she's pregnant, if a father uses it, it can affect his sperm viability. There's been dozens of studies testing the effect on sperm. It kills the sperm. It causes the sperm to slow down. It deforms the sperm. So there are a lot of problems with reproduction, and infertility is a really key one.
Today's children, there is a lot of anxiety, psychological anxiety, I don't know what to say.
Well, people have become addicted, children especially, to their cell phone. The FaceTime, the constantly contacting their friends, making sure they're not left out. And I was told that the telecom industry did that deliberately. They made their phones addictive so that you would want to constantly come back and check it to see if you got a message from, your friends or whoever. So they've become addictive. And if you try to take a phone away from a young child now, they end up having a temper tantrum. And the problem is that kids are now doing this all the time, and they're not outside, they're not exercising. So there's a lot of things that are interfering with their well-being. And I know for anxiety, exercise is very important. So if all you do is sit in your room and, you're looking at your cell phone, seeing if your friends are contacting you, and especially if they're not, that could lead to anxiety as well. So it's not only the radiation, but it's the addictive features on cell phones.
Yes, actually the worst, if the child has a phone, there is Wi-Fi, there is phone is charging, and he will put under the pillow the phone. It's like, I don't know why in schools they do not teach how to use them.
Because they don't know, the teachers don't know, no one's ever told them. I don't know if you have Wi-Fi in schools where you are, but
yes, we have.
We have Wi-Fi everywhere, especially even in classrooms that don't use any computers. The elementary kids that are just basically playing. They have a Wi-Fi router in the classroom exposing everyone. It doesn't make any sense to me. So one of the critical things is to educate the educational community and get Wi-Fi out of schools. It's not healthy for kids. And they shouldn't be using their cell phones in the classroom either. It's simply distractive, and it increases the levels of radiation.
As an electrician, I think also we should have a regulation for electrical system. In oil rigs, we have this EMC system. It's all shielded because all the cables and all the equipment will interrupt and the system cannot work properly. But why we don't have a human EMC? Nothing. We are protecting cables, equipments, electrical systems, but we are electrical system as well. Why it's nowhere that we protect ourselves?
That's right. And we could put that shielded cabling inside homes as well. It would be more costly, but in the long run, it would protect your health.
It's not so much. I know that people think, oh, it's cost me a lot. No, it's not.
Okay.
We have from Sweden. We have a very good company. It's making the cables. It's 1.5 times expensive.
Oh,
it's we cannot even compare with your health. What is the price of your health? So we should have a regulation that actually everywhere should be shielded the electrical system, but it's not.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, and thank you for the work you have done a lot of years.
Thank you, Harry, for having me on your program. Appreciate it.